I'm rolling with FD.
I'm going to drop a couple bombs on the FD channel right now.
Who are you rolling with?
I am rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
Let's do it. Let's go.
I'm rolling with FD, baby.
We are rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
Oh, you know we rolling with FD, baby.
We got alphas and bros in the house.
That's right. Peace out, my brother.
Woo!
I'm rolling with the F, the D.
Learn something new every day when you're rolling with FD.
Yeah, we are rolling with FD, baby.
I roll with one person, and that's FD.
I'm rolling with FD, baby.
You gotta love it, man.
This is a family thing.
That's good. That's good, man.
Hey, Renee, who you rolling with?
Rolling with FD.
Rolling with FD.
You don't have to ask. I'm rolling with FD.
My man. But see, Bless, who you rolling with?
I'm rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
That's how you just rolling, right? That's the whole thing, right? You roll with it.
You gotta let me know who you rolling with.
We're rolling with FD. You heard it first.
I'm rolling with FD.
I am rolling with FD.
I'm not just a pretty face, baby. JD, we should both do it.
No, I'm not doing that.
What questions do you have for me? Right, Manny and Jeremy, who you rolling with?
We're rolling with FD. We don't want to get our asses kicked.
You gotta let the people know who you rolling with, man.
Well, obviously I'm rolling with FD.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How we doing? It's November 27th, 6:01 p.m. We got the Bears and the Vikings on. Low-scoring game thus far. But I am really excited to jump into this conversation. Someone that I've wanted to talk to for quite a while. We have Ty from Chasing Cardboard. What's going on?
What is going on? How are
you
you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to chat.
First question I always ask is when did you first start in the hobby, collecting cars, and how did you get introduced?
So, yeah, man. So I was collecting as a kid. I mean, I remember growing up as a 9 and 10-year-old, trading with buds, collecting with a close friend of mine named Josh. And I mean, I stuck with it all the way till I was in college. And then it wasn't cool, right? It wasn't cool when you were 21 years old.
True.
And then about 27 years old, I realized I don't really care what people think about me. I'm going to go ahead and go back to collecting. So 13 years later, here I am.
That's how it always works. That's how it always works. So now tell me the background of what made you want to start making content. What made you want to do that?
Yeah, so it was 2015 ish. I loved doing two things. I loved interviewing people because that's what I did in sales. I mean, you basically you figure out what their pain is, their problem is, and you sell to it. And I loved analytics. And so I started podcasting and putting out content back then. And it's kind of evolved, obviously, to what we do now with Chasing Cardboard. But it all started because I loved analytics and I loved interviewing people. So that's a great combination for content.
I worked in sales too. What did you sell?
I sold enterprise software. So like high-end computer software. What about you?
I sold business-to-business industrial supplies for a while. And then I worked in retail and sold.
What kind of retail do you sell? No, I'm really curious.
Oh, I was working in like dog food, cat food. And I would I would set up programs. You know, you go to stores and you get $2 off your ketchup. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was selling them monthly programs. And then doing analytics and running the numbers to see how effective was the sale. And then understand how we need to tweak it in the future, what we need to do differently.
Love it.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy working in retail because it's always it's like a mini experiment. You get to have a control group, and then you need to you kind of mess with a group a little bit with some pricing or promotion or where products are sitting at, and then you understand what are they going to do with it. And it's always running. You know, you tweak it, you change it, then you come back to it. So I also like talking to people. I worked in sales for a while, but I also like running numbers to understand what something did and how did that affect change.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I dig it.
Yes.
I dig it. Well, your energy is more impressive than mine. Your constant flow of energy. I wish I had it. I'd be better at interviewing people.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I've always wanted to. Ty, I tell you, I've always had a passion for talking to people and talking about sports. When I was 18 years old, and I went to college, I tell the story sometimes. We had a student union building, and we used to sit. There was several of us, probably from freshmen to juniors, and we used to sit in the student union building and debate sports all the time, like in between classes and stuff. And before I went to practice, because I played ball, so before I went to practice, we would talk about different things, and that was a time where you kind of had to know your stuff. Like there was no internet, there was no cell phone, so you kind of had to know what you were talking about. And then there were very animated debates about who was right and who was wrong. And then there was instant surveys and polls of people that are there about what do you think? What do you think? And then people would chime in about who's the best point guard at the time, who's the best wide receiver, who's the best rapper. I remember when people weren't debating between Tupac and Notorious Big. People were debating between Notorious Big and probably a rapper today that most people couldn't even name. And that's how it is sometimes. Even as we look at sports, sometimes you have a person that's relevant. Like if I talk about David Boston that came out of Ohio State and was a wide receiver and then got busted for steroids, most people probably wouldn't even know who he is. But there was a time when David Boston was like one of the top wide receivers coming out of college and was super strong and super fast. But today it's like nobody knows today. People barely know Desmond Howard. Barely know him.
Yeah.
Who's that guy on college? Well, who's that guy walking around?
That's a great point.
Do
you think if you would have had a GoPro back in your college days and you had stuck it up and like had the ability to put that stuff out live, or would have been crazy good content?
Oh, man, it would have been really, really cool. I'll tell you this. I had a friend who used to have the camcorder on the shoulder. Right, we're talking about 95. And almost 50% of the places we went, he would have that camcorder on his shoulder. And we all thought, man, why are you videotaping stuff? We would ask him that all the time. Or he would pull out a disposable camera, or he had a pretty nice camera. He would always pull a camera. Like, why are you taking pictures? And now you see people, where they go, they're taking selfies or pictures, or they're recording something. And I always tell him that he was a man before his time. He didn't know. Didn't know what was coming. We joke about. I still talk to him. We joke about that now.
That's amazing.
Since you've been collecting cars and selling cars, buying cars, what are some of the really important principles you learned along the way that you would talk to somebody about that's trying to enter a hobby or bid in, and they say, "Hey, I want to take some steps. I want to do something beyond what I've been doing."
I mean, everyone says collect what you love, and there's truth to that for sure. I would say find something that you love. I would say, especially this day and age, it's so easy to get confused by all the different brands and the parallels and the color. I would say focus on a couple and learn them really well. I mean, if you want to learn baseball and learn baseball prospects, go learn Bowman Draft and Bowman Chrome and Bowman like nothing else, because then you'll be able to enjoy it and you'll focus on it and you'll do right. I definitely say just focus on the things that interest you and learn them like crazy. I would say maybe don't get swept away by grading, and that's funny coming from me because I grade everything. But it's become one of those things where now there's so much of it out there where it's not as cool, it's not as valuable than it used to be. So don't get all crazed by the shiny objects and the slabs. They're becoming less interesting.
Who are some athletes today of the sports that you really like that you think are next level athletes? Who gets you excited when you're watching?
Steph Curry gets me excited when I watch him. Not even a question. I think he's the best player playing right now. Nikola Jokic gets me excited. I really think Jokic is going to be that guy we look back on 10, 15 years from now and think, dang, we still could have got that guy pretty cheap from a collecting perspective.
Yep.
I like some young guys. I mean, obviously I collect Michael Porter Jr. He's not elite in that sense, but Jason Tatum, Ja Morant when he's playing, guys like that are just like ultra athletic and just have this aura about them. But Steph Curry to me is the guy right now. Steph Curry is the guy.
I like Michael Porter Jr. a lot. And what's funny is that the guy I told you that was recording with the camcorder knows Michael Porter Jr. And he, I probably wouldn't care if I say this. When they won a championship, he went down to hang out with Michael Porter Jr. and kind of celebrate. He's known Michael Porter Jr. since he was a child, since he was real young. Knows his brother, knows his father, knows him well. And I like Michael Porter Jr.'s game. A 6'10" guy that can shoot the rock like that. And you see him now physically, the way he can move around since his third back surgery, he looks healthier. I think he's still going to have a great career. I remember the hobby jumped on him early, but I still think he's going to have a great career.
Oh, me too. I'm probably one of the top 5 largest MPJ collectors in the world. I can guarantee you that. Like, I love Michael Porter Jr. One of the bucket list items I have is to get Michael Porter Jr. on Chasing Cardboard with me. I've hit up his family nonstop. I'm a Mizzou guy through and through. Like, everything about the connection makes sense. So if you got a guy,
let me ask him a question. Because he went down and met Teron Lou. Teron Lou is from Mexico, Missouri. Yeah, he knows different people. I'll ask him a question.
Yeah.
So what makes you a big fan of Michael Porter Jr.? I got to dig into this now. How did this start?
Yeah, so I'm a Mizzou Tiger fan, like hardcore.
Oh, okay.
But Michael Porter Jr.'s he's a strong family. He comes from a large family.
Yep.
He's a strong Christian man, and I gravitate towards Christian players, guys that I can get behind. I want my kids to root for him. So he's not afraid of his beliefs, and so that stuck out to me. And I like the Nuggets, so it all worked out.
I've heard so much about Michael Porter Jr., man, and he has a strong family tie. His father coached him. I mean, he's you know the story. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. And I think I kind of I probably never said this before on here, but I think I gravitate to players that are low key, express what they believe in, like Steph Curry. There are other players that even ones that are not as popular by general people, and stand for something. I think those are the players that I really get excited about. And then there's some other players that I don't get excited about, but I've never really expressed why. And I always talk about splash in the pan, right? So you get a some kind of pot or something hot, you put a little oil in it, let that thing spend some time, and then you throw some water in it. That's most players. They come out, they're scoring 25 points a game, 26 points a game. Like, we've never seen this before. And they'll do that for 2 or 3 seasons, and then they're either a poor diet, or they don't get proper rest, or they're doing something that's taken away from their joint health or their body health. And then we start to see that, oh, man, they hurt all the time. Something's wrong with them. And we've seen this over and over and over again. But then there are certain players who just, if they do get hurt, it's nothing major, or they rebound from an injury and they just keep moving and dominating. And those players typically have certain characteristics to themselves, if you think about it over time. They're not doing a lot of talking. They're not doing a lot of bragging. Not doing a lot of boasting. They're confident in themselves, but they keep greatness moving. They keep what they're doing moving. And those are the players I kind of naturally gravitate to. Sometimes the hobby gravitates to the splash of the pan players.
I think you're exactly right. And you hit on something that people don't talk about a lot. I think the mental side of it, especially, look, set aside Christian beliefs or any beliefs, but a guy that stands for his beliefs, that is of good character, that's worth something from a hobby perspective, because you see it too often in this day and age. Ja Morant is a perfect example. He just lets his emotions get the best of him, and now he's not playing basketball, right? Like, he could be a top 3 guard in the NBA. He probably still is a top 3 guard in the NBA. But he lets his emotions get the best of him because he can't figure out his character. And it's like, dude, that stuff plays into like your collecting habits and what you should be collecting. It's a big deal.
Pretty huge to me. But I'm the kind of person that I think long term. So I'm not just thinking about on a lot of things. I think long term when it comes to cards. So I'm not just thinking about the instant move. I'm thinking about something down the line, and who is this person going to become later on and what their potential is. But it's about everything that they do. It's not just about how they dribble and shoot.
Yeah.
What is a game? 3 hours? So they spend 1/8 of their day, 4 days a week on a court. But we don't think about the rest. We think about 1/8. That's
good point.
Yeah.
Who are your top few guys? I want to know. Who are your top couple guys?
Current players?
Yeah.
I like Shea a lot. I like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in OKC.
Okay.
I think Anthony Edwards has potential. He just reminds me, and I've never said this. He reminds me of a player. Like I played against guys who do a lot of talking because they're in fear of something. Something that's not settled in them. Like they're doing a lot of bragging and talking, and they're talking about what kind of athlete they are. And you don't hear guys who really are putting it down night after night talk like that. Like it's some level of insecurity there. I just read something in him like, I would like for him to talk less, play more. Score your 25, talk less. Improve your shooting percentage, talk less. But I like his game, though. So I would say Shea, Anthony Edwards. I like the Joker. People that watch the program know I like James Wiseman. He's an up-and-coming prospect kind of player. I would say that probably rounds it out. I love Steph Curry, though. Steph Curry is probably my top player playing basketball today.
Yeah.
But I think, Ty, we're in a space where we don't have, since I think I've been alive, we've had a GOAT on a football field somewhere. We've had a GOAT on a baseball diamond somewhere. And we've had a GOAT on a basketball court somewhere. And we don't have that now. There's no GOAT in baseball. There's no person you can turn to and say, that's the best player in baseball. That's not that in the NFL. There's no GOAT wide receiver or quarterback right now. The running back. The running back.
No
position,
way you wouldn't. Mahomes is by far the best player in the NFL.
He's the best player, Ty, but he's not a GOAT. He's the best player in the game today. But I wouldn't put him in the same category as a Tom Brady or Joe Montana. You know, he's a very good player. But I always say to people, what if Patrick Mahomes never wins another Super Bowl? And he's a guy with 2 Super Bowl rings. And there's a long list of guys with 2 Super Bowl rings. And you may be able to say, well, he's the best with 2, but that doesn't make him legendary. You know, he's going down a good path. He's a young guy going down a good path, but so this is an odd area, odd space to be in that we don't have GOATs, and like Jerry Rice is not playing ball right now. So we look at a receiver, you see some good ones, but Justin Jefferson's been hurt. He had an amazing year last year. He's been hurt all year. Diggs is frustrated with his quarterback. Josh Allen is not who people are talking about. It's rough out here. So I think people are looking around like, who do I buy or who do I cheer for? And who's definitely going to, as Deion Sanders says, that other room in Canton. Who's on that level? We don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why I think these sports today are like, you know, I hear stats that say viewership is up. It's kind of hard for me to believe that. What's the last time you watched a game and you got excited about that game? Like right now, the Bears and the Vikings on. It's 3-0 with 3:19 left in the first half. It's Monday Night Football.
Oh.
We grew up on Monday Night Football being exciting.
Yeah.
Now, Sunday Night Football, and still even Sunday Night Football is a miss.
There's a lot of truth to that, man. There's a lot of truth to that. I think what we underestimate is how these leagues transform the rules to continue to create GOATs. So I don't think that's going to be any different in the years to come. I think they're going to do what they can to make it likable and watchable, and that means they're going to make it very advantageous for guys to break a lot of stats. But I mean, I really think you could argue Steph Curry has an opportunity to be an all-time great point guard.
Oh yeah,
probably in the top 3 discussion right now. So we're watching that guy play. LeBron's in the argument, right, for at least the top 5 in his position. There's a little bit of that, but you're right on baseball, and you're probably right on football. And it's a really weird position to be in.
Yeah, we'll see. And I always ask too: are we prepared as viewers of sport to go the next decade with not even having that question answered? It could happen, or it could be someone that we don't talk. It's like I usually say that when LeBron came out the floor in Miami with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, and he said we're not only going to win 4, we're going to win 5, we're going to win 6. Pretty much no one was talking about Steph Curry at that point.
That's true,
right? So we don't know later. It may be somebody that's up and coming, young, maybe even in high school or about to go to college or young in college. That could be the next something that we don't know about right now. We clearly can't see them, but they could show who they are. But it's an unprecedented point in time because I just don't remember. It's like, but I agree with you. To me, I have Steph Curry greatest point guard of all time.
Really?
Oh yeah.
But the only 2 that are in that discussion for me are Magic and Oscar. I mean, that's the top 3 for me.
That's right.
You got Steph at number 1 though. That's impressive.
I think he's changed the game to a point, and he's able to do so much to affect the game. Yeah, probably more than we've ever seen from a point guard position, or what the point guard position has evolved into today. I can't take anything away from Magic Johnson or Oscar. I love Oscar Robertson. I mean, I love the way he played the game. And Magic, if you watch him, to me, LeBron James plays a lot like him. Yeah. Going out and calling for the rock. Doing something out of the post a lot. He was really a power forward probably more of the time than he was a traditional point guard. Nobody talks about that, though.
Yeah, that's a great point. But you're exactly right with Steph. I mean, I remember growing up, right? You had Jordan, and then you had Kobe in my teen years. Like, those are the 2 guys where you would go out to the driveway and to replicate what they were doing.
That's right.
Steph Curry is that for the last 15 years. That's 10 years. My kids want to go out and replicate what Steph Curry is doing. He has totally transformed the game. You're exactly right.
One question I've always wanted to ask you. So when you create your content, how do you go about scheduling where you're going to go, what you're going to do, who you're going to visit, and making connections with people who have collections? How do you do that?
Well, it was harder at first because we didn't have a long list of people reaching out to try to sell us collections. We were having to grind it out and put ads in papers and kind of vet it out the hard way. Which I wish we could kind of go back in time a little bit and do that more because it was very raw. But now it's very easy to get the leads in to say, hey, we got this. We're telling people no a lot more than we tell people yes. Okay. Say that. So it's, hey, if we did, for instance, we just went to Columbus, Ohio. And we had worked on scheduling this one for about 9 months. And when we scheduled it, we said we got to build 2 more collections around this trip to make it worthwhile for us financially. And so we went and we filmed over the course of 4 days. We filmed 3 episodes from Columbus all the way down.
You a little bit of sleep on that trip, right?
Yes, a little bit of sleep, but it's well worth it. Yeah, with kids, man, like you'd rather go grind it out for 4 days and come back and be with the family versus like splitting it up and traveling more. You probably know the deal. You've been out in that life before with traveling. It's not fun, but you do it. Yeah.
I remember once upon a time I had a job. You first start a job and you get a chance to travel. You're like, man, this is great. Dude, you probably put 18 months into that. This is not great.
Not great.
Not great at all. In and out of TSA. In and out of the airport, the air that's on the airplane, the bed and the room that you're about to be in, the breakfast you're probably going to be eating if you want to be conservative. So it starts to wear on you, man. So I completely understand. But
does. I'll never forget.
I think it was good for anyone who's probably thinking about doing content, just to see the work that you were putting in.
That's good perspective. I don't really think about that. Well, so the trip before this last, we did a behind the scenes episode that we filmed alongside a 4-day trip. And it's gonna come out probably the end of December, early January, but it's a whole episode which is only behind the scenes stuff. So you see what the whole crew's doing, not what I'm doing. And it's going to make people think, oh, it's not that sexy. It actually looks really awful.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
That'll be good. How do you put out so much content, man? You're like pumping this stuff out like it's nothing.
We split stuff up. I mean, my son is my editor. So Greg is my editor. He does kind of the bigger episodes of stuff, or he'll cut up some clips from a live. Like he'll cut up clips from this, and then we'll put it out. And then I kind of usually, so a lot of times I'm sitting by him while he's cutting stuff up, and we talk about different things. Or we may talk about a player that I mentioned. Or he's learning more about sports in this process. So he'll ask, man, who's Justin Jefferson per se? Then I'll say he plays with the Minnesota Vikings. He'll bring a picture of me and something like that. But most of the sports stuff, Ty, I tell you, I do myself. So anything where we're talking, we're really doing like some sports breakdown or sports analysis, or if I'm giving my opinion on something that has happened, I'm usually editing that and chopping that up myself. Okay. And then I try to get it out as fast as I can, because you have a certain time window when something's kind of relevant. Something just happened. Yeah. And you need to be talking about it. So I try to cut that up. Because we first started where I would try to wait to a certain part of the day where he could get to it. And I started thinking, I have a phone. I can probably cut this and get at this myself. So I started doing that. So that allows us to pump out a lot of stuff. And then I think part of our content, even before we started making it, I try to always be abreast of what's happening in the world of sports. And there are like certain friends that we would text each other all the time. Did you see this? Did you see that this happened and this happened? So one day I was talking to a friend, and the gentleman that held the camcorder years ago, I was talking to him, and he said, why don't you put some of this stuff out? Like, we talk about all this all the time. Just put some stuff out. So then I started doing that. But like, it's not, I enjoy following sports all day long. And then it really helps me understand, who am I going to be buying? Where's their career going? Who can I always ask myself, if I see somebody with a certain talent level, who can I compare that person to? Where have I seen this before? Is the guard more like Alex English, or is the guard more like Allen Iverson? I start asking myself these questions, and it helps me to kind of understand where this person might be going. I've been wrong on people before, but I've been probably right more than I've been wrong. And then who are the people that really get excited about? And who are the people that you probably really shouldn't get that excited about?
Yeah. Is that what you use to kind of guide the way you spend your money in the hobby?
Yeah. It's kind of how I made decisions before. And I think it's my way of breaking down how I make decisions. And that methodology has always been, how I've made decisions on what I'm going to buy or do in the past. Yeah, I think that's how that works.
I like it.
Some people have asked me at shows, like, hey, you spend a lot of time watching sports. Probably now with a family and children, I spend more time analyzing and summarizing sports. Like, very rarely am I going to sit down and watch a 3-hour game.
Yeah.
I really don't have time for that, but I will understand the nuances of that game when that game is over. What happened in it? How did the quarterback get their yards? How did the running back get their yards? How did the point guard score? I always like to understand how a big man scoring. You could be DeAndre Jordan. Someone could give you a lob, or you could create the shot. There's two different types of players. So when I start looking at stuff, then I try to understand, And that's why I go back to, like, today. If you get outside of vintage and you get outside of Steph, LeBron, Durant, there's a big area. There's a vast area of who are people buying right now. And when I talk to people, I'm always asking that question. Who are you buying right now? And then we get into a conversation of why. Who are you buying right now and why? And I hear more people today, personally, talking about who they really like as a player, more than I hear people talking about what that car is going to be worth later. It's almost like people have reverted back to kind of how I grew up with cars. It wasn't just about what that car is about to be worth from Monday to Thursday, but what do I think of this player?
I love it. I love it. You're very strategic in the way you approach the hobby.
I try to.
You don't see it very often like that.
I hear other people tell me that too. Like, man, you think more about stuff than I've ever considered. But that just keeps me, to me, it keeps me balanced, but and not too impulsive. I can get somewhat impulsive, but not too impulsive.
Yeah.
What are you seeing right now from like let's talk about like some current goals. What are you seeing from LeBron James market? Are people talking about his cars? Are people do you see more people buying his cars? What's some stuff that you're saying that people are talking about?
I see a lot of LeBron sellers. It doesn't mean that there's not guys out there trying to buy LeBron, but I think overall what you're seeing right now, which is affecting guys like LeBron, is that the ultra high end stuff just got slammed. I mean, it got absolutely murdered the last month to 12 months. And that'll probably come back a little bit in 2024, like that'd be my guess, because the people that buy that type of stuff, they wait to see blood in the streets and then they go sweep it up. So that stuff always is kind of good. It's that mid to high end stuff, $1,000 to $5,000 stuff that the new buyers came in, they flooded the hobby and they wanted it all. And then they realized, oh shoot, this stuff actually doesn't hold up that well unless you have that one or two or three guys.
That's right.
Otherwise, it just loses value. And I think that stuff's the stuff that's just going to keep getting slaughtered all the way through next year. It's that low end stuff that'll probably end up doing really well because people can afford it. Deals are plentiful, and a lot of the mid range stuff is going to drop into the low end range anyway. So guys like LeBron have had a hard time because the ultra high end buyer has kind of disappeared, unless you're. I mean, Jordan's dropped considerably, right? Like those guys are just.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy, but there's certain guys that people are sticking with, like Steph Curry didn't drop much. Sorry. Steph Curry didn't drop much.
No, he really did not. And for a long time, he was very undervalued. Very much so. I was actually surprised. Steph had 3 championships. People thought his playoff runs were over. Cars were undervalued. Right?
Yeah.
What do you think of Wemby? When you see Wemby, what do you think of?
What do I think of Wemby? Obviously, he's going to get his stats. I think the question for me with Wemby is, will he be a winner? Because like he needs his Tony Parkers, he needs his Manu Ginobili's, he needs his Sean Elliott's, or he's just going to be a stat sheet stuffer. And like, as we know in this day and age, like first off, you need stars in your team. And second, like stats don't mean value.
Doesn't.
You have to win championships. Tatum should be worth a lot more than he is. He won't be until he wins an NBA championship.
Right.
Just a fact. That's to me is going to be what defines Wemby. He's going to put up stupid stats. Will he be a winner?
And I think that's probably one of the first questions about a lot of players. Because in today's NBA, we have a lot of scorers. But yeah. We got to find out who those winners are, who are the people that can put it together, play as a team, play as a unit. You're looking at the LA Clippers. They probably got 4 Hall of Famers on that team. It's hard
crazy to think about.
Win games because they don't really play as a unit. They do a lot of ISO ball. Like I'm sitting here some days and I watch them. It's like, it's hard to believe that Kawhi Leonard and James Harden on the same team, but
yeah,
they are.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, it'll be interesting too to see. I mean, teams are going to adjust. They're going to adjust to Wemby. They're going to adjust to Chet. Like that length it's large, but it's not. I mean, it's just 4 inches larger than the other 7-footer out there. They're going to start adjusting to him. Let's see how he starts figuring it out once they start adjusting to him. That'll be interesting to watch.
2 things I've seen is jump shots, a little high arc on him, try to get over him, get over his reach, his jump. And I see people coming right into his body. If they're coming into the lane, they're trying to come right at him, draw the foul, instead of trying to get around this guy. Those are 2 things I've seen in the last 3 weeks. We'll see how it keeps going.
Interesting. What's your quick take on Wemby?
Some people think I'm too real, but it's almost like the circus came to town, right? You see a 7'4" guy, right? You see a 7'4" guy, and you're like, man, he can dribble and shoot, and you're in awe.
Yeah.
But then when you start breaking down his game, you're like, he's not great on defense because it's left to right by just naturally. His center of gravity is off, so his left to right movement is different. And then it's hard for him to defend the pick and roll. I've noticed that. It's hard for him to move his feet to get what am I going to do? He's a lot of times Steph started kind of exposing. He'll guard a guy on the switch, but he doesn't want to go out to that 3-point line to guard someone. He doesn't want to leave the paint to go out there, and Steph will just shoot shots because he knows he's not coming out. Because if he comes out, then I'm going to go around. So I'm already noticing from the first time the Golden State Warriors played San Antonio to just a couple of days ago, Steph had a whole different. The way he was playing with Wemby was completely different. And the other guys are probably paying attention to that. If I'm sitting here watching and seeing that change, I'm going to get him to step out, and I'm probably going to take him off the dribble. Or if he does, I'm going to sink this jump shot.
Yeah.
And I'm going to force him to switch with me. So there's a mismatch. Golden State was doing that to him all night. So.
Yeah, those are really good observations. Two quick thoughts on that. One, funny you mentioned circus because the episode that we have coming out this week on Jason Cardboard, we filmed inside of a circus, so that's going to be really funny. But number two,
can't wait to see it.
But number two, I really like that Wemby is getting all this attention because I actually think this draft class is loaded with talent.
It is.
And when people are so focused on Wemby, it just allows you to sneak in and grab other guys for more reasonable prices. So it's a good opportunity for those hobbyists that are trying to get good deals on cards.
And then the sport itself needs a draft class. 2020 was up and down real quick.
Yeah.
Up and down. We had some injuries. Some people got traded. You didn't really know what was going on. You know, Halliburton went from Sacramento to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
What happens there? So, yeah, the sport and the hobby needs a draft class of people that can kind of move through a little bit and see some success. I'm still rooting for Scoot. I know he got put down to the G League. Still play some games with Portland, but we need all these guys to kind of be successful. Have an avenue to be able to show what they can do and how they get down.
Yep.
Now, so in the NFL, if I mention Brock Purdy to you, what's
if you mention Brock Purdy to me, I think tendency is to classify him as a system quarterback. That's what everyone tends to do right now. But I think I look at him and I think of, and that's probably because that's kind of what he is, right? He just is. He has so much talent around him that he's fallen into this stereotype. But I love the way he carries himself. He doesn't have the intangibles, but the way he leads and the way he has composure and the way he kind of just makes everything work. It reminds me a little bit of like early Tom Brady, where you looked at him and you're like, whoa, he just came in and he just kind of calmed the storm.
True.
That to me is really impressive. Seems to check a lot of boxes. I guess I would say that.
Because not many can do that.
Yeah.
Like the day that Brady came in and, you know, the guy who's ahead of him got hurt.
Bledsoe.
Yeah, Bledsoe. Brady came in and even in that game, made some completions, and people were looking like, okay. But I remember the Tom Brady that was at Michigan, who was an inconsistent player. Some games he looked like all world. Some games he looked like he didn't know what was going on. And it's interesting how he was able to lock in and really take his game to the next level and build upon that guy that you could see throwing accurate passes. But some games he just could not get that done.
Yeah.
That's what I was just saying about sports. You have guys from big schools, big names, notoriety, been in big games. They at some point they'll get to the NFL and fold up. They'll get to the NBA and probably fold up. You got other guys from small schools. You got a Steph that comes in from a small school. He has uber talent. He comes in and keeps it moving. Went through some injuries, had some problems. Had another guard that didn't want to play with him. Kept moving through. Was backing up a guard that a year later was out of the league. Just kept moving. Intestinal fortitude, Kai. That's what
you nailed it.
That's what these players have to have.
Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, those guys, man, like they got it deep down, which is you don't see that until they're thrown into the fire and the adversity, like they face it. You see them like get better in the adversity. You're like, oh shoot, that you don't see that very often.
Ty, let me ask you, what's some of the stuff that you have in your personal collection that you collect and you get excited about?
I get most excited about stuff that means something to me and the kids. There's a lot of cards that I would have never added, except we pulled it together, or we found it at a show together, or we graded it together, and it just means something to me. And it'll be one that'll, regardless of the value, will stay in the family. That stuff means a lot. I told you already, I love Michael Porter Jr. I love getting excited about his stuff. I probably have so much of it now where I don't get quite as excited, but I collect Chiefs and I collect Royals, mainly Mizzou Tigers. But I've thankfully from recent collections, I've come across some pretty good Nikola Jokic stuff. That gets me excited. I'm starting to get more excited about vintage. I try to act excited about it on the show because a lot of people love vintage. I've never really been into vintage. Vintage basketball, yes, but baseball and football, I had to find a way to love it. And I'm getting close.
Okay. Yeah, because you look very very much like a lover of vintage. Doing a great job.
Thank you. I love cards. At the end of the day, I just love cards. That helps.
So Ty, you have a Mizzou background. Did you grow up in Missouri?
I grew up in Kansas City. I grew up on the east side over there in Lee Summit, Missouri. Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's home of Drew Lock.
Yeah, I used to live in St. Louis. Been spent quite a few years in Missouri. Went to school with a lot of people from Kansas City.
Yeah. Are you a Mizzou guy too?
No. Didn't go to Mizzou. But I went to grad school in St. Louis.
What do you got? Washington out there? Where'd you go?
Washington.
Cool.
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah, man.
So when I say NBA championship and NFL Super Bowl, who you think is going to win? Very hard to predict, but who you think? We're talking about this parity out here in this league.
NFL championship. I'm going to say the Super Bowl is going to be played between the Chiefs and the 49ers.
That'd be
and I'm going to go with Mahomes again.
Okay.
Chiefs, a little bit of a homer pick, but I do like the way Chiefs are kind of looking the last few weeks. NBA championship, man. I just think the Nuggets are going to be really hard to beat when they're all healthy. I really like the Bucks too. I think Lillard and Giannis together are just going to be so hard to beat in the playoffs. I'm going to go Nuggets versus Bucks, and I'll go with Nuggets.
Man, you just picked two crazy matchups. We got potentially 6 or 7 games with Giannis versus the Joker. Man,
that's an NBA fan's dream right there.
Yeah, man. You got Dame. Man, that'd be crazy. That'd be something to watch.
Dame Jamal going at it the whole game.
It'd be something to watch. I really want Jamal to be healthy. I want him to come back and be able to get through this season. I said it in the offseason that was going to be. I just compare him to Klay Thompson when it comes down to the physical things that they've been through, and it's very hard to come back from a torn up knee or a torn knee and a torn Achilles and not have problems that second year or at the end of the year you came back. It's just very interesting. So I hope he can come back and be healthy, and because you can tell when you watch Denver, they're not the same without him. So
you're exactly right. They're kind of painful to watch without him. Unfortunately.
What are you thinking in 2024 when it comes to the hobby? I know this is a very open question. There's a lot going on, but what are you kind of foresee coming?
Well, I think a little bit of the identity crisis will be kind of figured out. I think we're in the middle of an identity crisis still with the hobby. It's like everything is still up in the air. People don't know what brands are going to be around. People don't know who's going to have the licenses. They're confused about prices. So I think a little bit of that confusion will be cleared up. Good. But I think that you'll see high end get a little stronger, the mid end get totally crushed. And I really think low end is going to be really strong in 2024. I think you're going to find just a crazy amount of people buying up low end stuff. That's just my quick observation, kind of going back to what I said earlier. But I think the hobby's in a really good place, man. I think it's going to be in a good place. I think they're figuring how to blend culture and cards, and that has been something the hobby hasn't figured out. Topps and Panini could not figure it out. Fanatics is figuring it out, and that's a really good thing for the long term of the hobby, I think.
I agree. I totally agree. I think the more you have people that don't traditionally talk about cards, think about cards, and tie that to a sport or some kind of appearance or a date and time where they're around an athlete that they really like, if you can tie all that in together, then it's something. Just like when, they had the Wemby card pulled, then they had the person who pulled it fly out to meet Wemby.
Yeah,
I mean,
so cool.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
You got a legendary young player. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, okay, now people are really thinking about some things right now. This is not cards and then the athlete. It's
experience.
Hey, you're starting to blend some stuff and have an experience out of it.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Then the whole the logo patch stuff with Topps update, genius. The buyback on the Chrome stuff, genius. Like you want to get rid of this whole aura of overprinted base. Buy it back if they win in. What a great idea. Little things like that, I think, are going to start to compound, and you're going to be like, oh shoot, Fanatics is actually doing a pretty good job. They probably took a massive L on the valuation of the hobby.
Yeah, but that's intentional, right?
A lot of good things.
Yeah, just like we talked about retail earlier. I mean, you gotta lose something on some of these items to get people in the door, get them off their couch. Then when you get them in, there's a whole bunch of other stuff around here to enjoy. And people are willing to spend for an experience, like we just talked about. You go to Disneyland. You're not like, man, that Coke is what? I could go out and get a Coke someplace else and not spend that. What? I'm gonna be in line for 2 hours? My time is worth. I'm not doing that. Nobody does that. People are there to enjoy themselves. Right?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
What are some of your goals for your channel in 2024 and beyond?
I would say be a little more consistent if we can. It's hard because these trips are long, and to put out the type of content we're putting out takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I think people have grown tired of mediocrity in the hobby. There was a lot of faces in the content world, and a lot of those guys are gone. Guys like you have stuck around and have found a niche and have found a way to kind of just blend your love for sports with sports cards, and that stuff exists now, but it fell through the cracks the last few years. People want variety and they want uniqueness, and so I think we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we maintain how to be unique? Also start bringing people that don't normally care about sports cards. That's our ultimate goal. Let's be this bridge between stories, entertainment, and sports cards. We're using sports cards as a medium to tell stories. That's really what Chasing Cardboard is. And people get upset with us sometimes. They're like, why don't you share more sports cards? Why don't you dig into the values? And I always kind of say this in comments when I can. It's like, look, the second we do that, we lose the fringe viewer.
Mm-hmm.
We want to bring fringe viewers into the hobby. It's better for all of us if those people start coming in. I'll let other people do that stuff. We want to tell a story, bridge the gap between sports cards and emotions. So if we can do that more, we can be more consistent. All right.
I want to tell you this. The first time I saw an episode of Chasing Cardboard, your production value is so high that it came across as a show that was on A&E or the History Channel. Has anybody else ever told you this?
Yeah, they have. And every time I get on an interview, I just make sure people know, Matt Coleman, the producer of the show, is unbelievably talented. He is a gifted editor, gifted videographer. He just understands it. He's been doing it for his whole life, 20 plus years of doing this professionally. His ability to tell a story, because if when you see the behind the scenes, you're going to be like, okay, wait, they filmed this over here, they filmed this over here. We had to bridge the gap with a little cutaway scene, but then you see the finished product, and you're like, wait, I was moved emotionally, but I know how it was filmed. It's because he's just really gifted at what he does. So thank you for that. But Matt gets all the credit because Matt's really good.
The first time I ever watched, I was blown away. I got recommended by somebody. I even called them back, like, man, this production value is crazy. And we try our hardest to. One of our main goals when we first started was try to have a high production value. I admire that. That's
thank you.
It should be applauded. And I'm not saying everybody in the hobby needs to do that, but if more people took that seriously in the hobby, it would be a beautiful place.
It would, and I think it's easy sometimes to think though high production value means more views. It doesn't always work that way, as you probably notice sometimes too. Sometimes you're like, wait, the one I grabbed with my iPhone did the best in terms of metrics, but I spent 2 hours editing this one.
I don't know. It's just like if you paint a wall in your house and you kind of step back, you can see the imperfections in it. You can maybe see some areas that are a little bit light. I should have put some more paint over there. At least that's how I operate. To me, production value is just like the polish. It doesn't. I guess because I'm really into it. I get into that kind of stuff. Somebody else may look at it and be like, "Hey, whatever. What are the cars and what is the this, that, and the other?" But I just look at stuff and you can tell somebody's putting in time and they care about something. And I think that kind of stuff should be talked about and applauded because it's rare. So
yeah,
I appreciate
it. I love you have the best analogies.
Well, I tell you this, Ty. My father was a storyteller and gave analogies all the time. I get that stuff from him. He would break stuff down to you. So especially me coming up as a kid, so I could really grasp and understand what he was getting at when he was trying to teach you something. He told stories and told a lot of analogies. I even do that with my children. Like I can be talking to Junior about something, and I'll break down to him. You ever thought about this? And you can see him looking at me like the wheels are turning. Like, yeah, you're getting it. You're getting it. I appreciate that, man. It's all about pops. It's all about. You have any questions for me, Ty?
So what have you learned on the content side about haters? You get it in the comments. You get people like. How have you learned to deal with that?
When we first started, that's a great question. When we first started content, I would be reading something, right? I'm in my phone. I can't believe they said that. I can't believe that person just said that. Why would they say that? We don't do that. And then after probably about 6 to 8 months, I realized that no matter what you put out. So if you're a content creator out there and you put something out, if you create pottery and you put it out, if you paint a painting, you hang it somewhere, somebody who probably doesn't even know the effort it takes to create something from zero is going to walk up and say, that's trash. Or, I don't like that. Why did you buy this? Or Steph Curry's not that great. They're going to say something. So then when I started understanding that people are going to have expressed themselves, no matter what you do, then it became, I wouldn't say I'm immune to it, but it's not. I look at it and I move on with my day. Like it's okay. I really look more for the comments. And I want everybody out there in earshot to know this. Of people I can have dialogue with, and I want to hear what they're thinking about sports or cards, and then I want to be able to express what I'm thinking about that. Just like last night with the Josh Allen play. He steps back, he throws the ball on his back foot. Probably the most important game of his career to date. Steps back on his back foot, throws the ball. Now, he's the creator of that pass, so maybe I'm the person critiquing him. But I actually play ball. So I know even when you get to these really intricate offenses, you have option plays, even on wide receivers running routes. But when you have a DB sitting on the inside, you don't throw the ball to the inside. You throw the ball outside. So why would you think the receiver is going to go inside? And it's the quarterback's responsibility to read that receiver and make the call. So in situations like that, I put up something yesterday on Instagram. A person responded. And today we had some healthy dialogue just about the basic one-on-ones of football. And we both walked away like, okay, yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. And that's it. To me, that's way more dialogue. I would like to see more dialogue to be where we can have a conversation through note sharing than someone trying to attack someone else. And if anybody's out there creating content, you know how much work it is. I don't care if you shot something and edited on your phone. You were putting them work on being creative. And I think because maybe like my brother used to be a waiter at a restaurant. So he's more sensitive with the tip, how you talking to people. He's very sensitive to that. And through him, I learned that, yeah, I should probably talk to people a certain way. Ask that person their name instead of just saying, hey, I need some water. Hey. So if someone's creating something, I'm probably now way more understanding of what they're going through and leaving notes in that manner or even talking to that person in that manner. So when it comes down to haters, I'm almost immune to them.
Yeah. I like the perspective.
One thing I want to ask you though. You know, you had a card that some people said, and I admire people around here know. Ty, you got me hyped because it was almost how I would react to something. You had a card. Some people said, hey, I don't know about that card. That card may not be real. You sent it in, got a grade back, card is real. Some people said, Ty, why don't you apologize? I even asked myself here, sitting here. So I get in autographs, Ty. I've collected autographs since I was 12 years old. I've seen thousands of autographs. I've walked up and looked at autographs. Probably could be authenticated for a company. I've walked up and looked at autographs and said they're real, they're not. I know what a Mickey Mountain looks like from the M and the E's that's in the Mickey Mountain autograph, all the way down to Reggie Jackson or whoever else, Jim Brown, whoever else it could be. I see a card that has a wrestler on it. I'm sitting here in my house. I'm looking at the card on the TV, and I say, the autograph's real. Just first time I watched the show, the autograph's real. I've seen that autograph before. There are people saying other things. I just want to ask you this one question because I've wanted to ask you this for a while. To the people that say somebody should apologize for something, because I feel like in the hobby sometimes, I'm going to vent right now. I feel like in the hobby sometimes there are people who think they control the hobby and they should tell people what they should do. And I'm the kind of person where nobody's doing that for me. I'm in my 40s. I've been in the hobby since I was 8 years old. And I went places, Ty, and people looked at me and thought that guy knows nothing. And I've made sure that I've always been on my P's and Q's with knowledge, facts, doing my research, knowing what the hell I'm talking about when it comes from an autograph to a card. And people still will act like you don't know. What do you think about when people say this should happen, that should happen?
People have become so accustomed to thinking through, to living vicariously through a content creator, that they've forgotten what it's like to actually have their own thoughts. And I could fall into that trap too. I see it in some of my kids sometimes, and I have to kind of speed correct it a little bit and say, hey, look, let's take a step back here. Let's think about this objectively. Let's think about it like a human being. Let's not think about it the way this guy is telling you to think about it. We've fallen into that trap a lot. I think in that situation, people forgot that I was spending time with somebody. I was looking them in the eyes. I'd spend the whole day with them. I recorded with them. I'd gone back and forth. I knew the whole history of all this stuff. Could it still have been fake? Like it totally would have. It could have been fake. And I was totally fine with it. If it was fake, man, I was going to apologize to everybody and do it the right way. There's also another argument to be made about, look, I was selling an auto on eBay with no authentication on it. he would have written back to me and said, "Hey, this is fake," and I did refund that guy. If someone else would have bought it and sent it back to me and said, "Hey, it's fake," I'd have refunded him.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a non-COA auto. Like, some people just are so afraid to take accountability for their own decisions, their own thoughts, that it becomes impossible to have a conversation. And that, to me, was the problem there, is that it did not matter if I would have gotten on a live event or had them on my channel, any of you guys, they would not have had a logical conversation because they're not thinking through the same lens I am. That was long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And sometimes I think, like we talk here, sometimes I think, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. There's not a lot of me in the hobby, Ty.
Yeah.
And I grew up communicating differently, and how I express myself is different. And I didn't grow up passive aggressive. Like, I grew up explaining, if you and I are having a conversation, we're going to have a conversation. I'm not going to say one thing in front of you and then go over here and say something else. And I wouldn't expect that of the person that I'm talking to. That's just how I grew up. Even at family functions or non-family functions or whatever it may be, people were pretty straightforward when I was coming up. And then I've learned over life that a lot of times it's not like that. A lot of times the other things come into play. So, hey, man, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate
Thank you.
Everything about that situation, because it really struck a chord in me of, I would handle that the same way. I'm going to tell you that. I would handle that the same way. And my girlfriend here knows. I showed her the episodes, and she said, he sounds just like you. He sounds just like you, Tom. For sure.
Telling you, man, we share a lot in common. I can tell that from our messages, like in the way we approach the hobby. We share a lot in common. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So are there any shows that you're planning to go to? I know you went to the National, but are there any other shows you're planning to go to?
Yeah, we're going to try to make it out to the Collectible Kings show in Virginia.
Okay.
We'd like to make it out to Chantilly if we can. I'll be at the Dallas Card Show probably twice next year.
Okay.
We'll be hosting our own show
when?
Up here in the Pacific Northwest. It won't be anything crazy. It'll be kind of a local regional event, but it'll be in Spokane. Probably early spring.
Okay.
So we're going to work that out. But yeah, and I'll obviously be at the National. Which ones are you going to be at? Where are we going to meet at?
I know we're going to be at Burbank coming up here in LA in February, the week after the Super Bowl. I know we're going to be in Del Mar, California at the Union Marketplace show in March, or I think March 8th through the 10th. And then after that, I do not know. We just missed each other at the National, but I do not know after that. I don't know if I don't even know at this point if I'm going to the National in Cleveland. Don't know yet.
Is it because of Cleveland or is it because of the National?
I think it's because of Cleveland.
Okay. That's fair.
I'm close a few times, but we'll see. We'll see about that.
Well, we might run into each other at Burbank. I really do need to get out to Burbank. It's one show that I want to check off the list. So maybe we'll see each other. I could share a potential booth with Marcel, so I want to take advantage of that if I can.
I'd love to meet Marcel in person.
He's a great dude.
Cool. Yeah,
he's a really, really good dude.
Yeah, it really seems like a cool guy to talk to. Perspective. Been in the hobby for a long time. For sure.
Yeah. Let me ask you another question.
What you got?
What 2 or 3 hobby influencers do you really look up to? I mean, who do you really watch and think, man, whenever he puts out stuff, you got to watch it?
I watch Jeff. I watch Sports Card Investor. Jeff, to me, has an interesting mind. So the way he presents stuff and talks about stuff, and he weaves in different things, like how he presents information, and then he'll weave in businesses that he's doing, people that he's doing business with, or like stand-up displays, other things. He's weaving that in. The marketing approach is interesting from a purely content creator perspective. I don't really watch a lot. I do like what you do, from how you tell the story, and it's more of an emotional touch than we're just talking about this card, this card, this card, this card. You're allowing people to tell their stories, things like that. I watch a few people who flip cards and break cards. because I'm a person that I believe in an ecosystem of stuff, and I think there's a meaning behind. Like there's certain cars I have in my collection I wouldn't have unless somebody broke them. That's just how cars move around. Like I didn't go to last year's National, and within a week or so after the National, 2 years ago, I didn't go to the National, and within a week or so after the National, I had a car from the National in my hand that I had purchased, only because someone went who buys and sells cars and got that car from someone who had broke it, got it graded. So it's just the ecosystem of things. So I try to have breakers and flippers on What's the Play as much as I can to get that perspective of what they're saying across the nation. And then there are some people I watch just for whatever they're doing outside the hobby. There are some content creators that make stuff that cars may be 5%, 10% of the show, and then they're doing other stuff. It's almost like, what else are they doing? And then it becomes like you watch it for the entertainment value of it.
Yeah.
That's a great question, man. You got any more questions for me, Tom? I don't want to keep you too long.
I do hear the kids home. They're going to come in anytime, but it's
yes, okay. I'm saying. Yeah, I know how it goes. Yeah.
Favorite product to open?
I don't open product a lot anymore. I'm the person now. So back in the day, I used to open up some SP, authentic stuff, like when Kobe was in it and all that. I used to open that stuff up.
Good stuff.
Yeah, like really good stuff. When boxes jumped from like $125 to like $300 a box, that's when I was in that game, right? Now I try.
Don't you wish we could go scoop all that up?
Yeah, right,
bro. Go back and buy.
I remember I opened up Topps Chrome LeBron's rookie year, and I was showing my son Greg. We went to Chicago. I opened up like 5 boxes back his rookie year. Now those boxes are very expensive per box right now. So I don't open up a lot of stuff. I try to hunt down the cars that I really want. And I've been learning since doing content more and more about, it's all really about the brand that you're opening and what do other people think about that brand. Like you can have a Corey Seager rookie card, but is it a Bowman Chrome? Or is it something else? Then that makes a difference in the value. It could be on-card auto, makes a difference in the value. So I'm learning more too that as you go up in car values, we want to get to a National Treasures, a Flawless, Eminence, any of that stuff. Like you should really know what you're looking at and what you want to invest in or buy. You should really know. If you want to go for a Prism gold or a black gold or a bronze, you should really know what those cars are. And it is not just a purchase, in my opinion, of like any other card out there. If you're getting into vintage, you should know you should know the nuances of that vintage. Are there different color fonts on the back of cars, on the front of cars? Will some have more print runs or die runs in them on the front? Like you should get into that, to me, and really know, because you could pass by something. You have this knowledge and really be able to pick out something that nobody's graded yet or anything, and be able to make a move on it. We went to in LA, there's a place called Frankenstein's, which is like a big swap beat kind of. You've been there, right?
I haven't been there, but I know all about it. Yep.
Yeah, so we're walking one day, and I happen to see a Steph Curry card, Bowman, rookie, that's not graded. But it's only because I've looked at certain cards for a long period of time. And then you can even jump into comic books. There's so many things that you could learn about different things so that when you actually see it in its rawest form, or you may be able to look at something and say, that grade isn't right, or maybe if I clean this, so these cards are more susceptible to this. If you know all those nuances, it's going to make you that much more successful as you're out. This is why I try to every day, Ty. I do some form of research on something. I'm looking at, like one night I may just say, let me see what Tatum's rookie cards are looking like as far as price. Like how much did they decline by? So I just started looking. Are there any good deals? Sometimes on eBay, you can even find a good deal. You can find somebody that may just be wanting to sell something. And then also on eBay, what I do is I try to send as many messages as possible to understand who this person is. Who am I dealing with? Are they about price? So they just want to move this thing? Are they not a fan of the player? Whatever it may be. You can find some stuff. So I just try to take a little bit of time each day. And this is why I don't watch as much sports as I used to. because I do a consolidated approach on my sports viewing. Make sure I watch what's going on. But then I also try to fill the other time with doing some research on something to find out there's some opportunities out here somewhere, especially if I see something in person. Can I take advantage of that?
Man, that's really impressive. And you asked me early on, like, what would you advise new people coming into the hobby to do? That would be bullet point number 4. I think summarizing, invest in yourself as much or more before you start investing in cards, because you're exactly right. All you have to do is start spending 10 minutes a day, and you're going to know so much about sports cards, and you're going to spend money so much more wisely.
Mm-hmm. And the art is being able to say no, because once you build your network, and I've learned this now, once you build your network of people, you're going to have people bringing you all kinds of cards, talking to you about stuff, bringing you stuff. Can you navigate your way through that? You got to be able to say no sometimes to really hone in on what you really want in your collection for certain players, and what gets you really excited because it's rare. Like next year, I plan to, and I've talked to some people about this, be as rare as possible on what I'm trying to buy on many different players, and being able to understand it's not going to be the volume of cards I'm buying. It's going to be probably what I'm buying. We're talking about Steph. Like I have some Steph stuff. I really want at least 1 or 2 pieces that are kind of rare on Steph, and I'm willing to pay for that. And I think those are the more mature decisions that I probably make than some stuff I've made before. Because I just don't want to buy a card and then hold it for a month and then trade that on something else if I have a goal. Something that I can put in Junior's hands years from now and be like, that's yours. Ty, I appreciate you, man.
Heck yeah.
You get me hyped.
Same to you, brother.
I sit here and I watch your videos and I get excited, man.
Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you having me on, and we'll be talking to each other at Burbank, hopefully.
Yes, sir. Now, Ty, before you go, I know you saw the intro. I got to ask you, Ty, who you rolling with?
Chasing Cardboard is rolling with FD.
I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. Tell your family I said hello. Everybody from here says hello to them. Hope you have a great night, and I appreciate your time.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. Take care.
Peace.